There's no denying it. The left is in an absolutely doomer phase. Gone is the optimism for revolutionary change that pervaded leftist spaces in the late 2010s. The resistance to the second Trump era has been a lot quieter. Not because people are not as opposed to his actions, but because the loudest voices of the first resistance, the leftist protesters, are now sitting at home in despair. So how did the left get here? Objectively speaking, we're in a similar place right now compared to the late 2010s. If leftists are doomers today, then they should have been equally doomer back in the late 2010s. I think the only way to explain the discrepancy here is that the left was under the illusion that a magical breakthrough, a shortcut to utopia, was soon to come back in the late 2010s, because they were convinced so by their flawed theories. That the promised change had come all these years later has finally killed off all hope of it actually happening at all. It isn't even like this is the first time the left's empty promises of an instant magical shortcut to utopia inspired a generation to misguided forms of activism, and eventually left them all burned out, after the promises of utopia didn't come true. A similar thing happened back in the 1960s to 70s, an era of radical cultural change, protests about almost everything, and general societal upheaval, with all that eventually resulting in the conservative backlash of the 1980s. What the left doesn't understand is that there is simply no shortcut to utopia. Sound and sustainable improvement, especially in terms of cultural issues, can only come about as a result of gradual step-by-step changes, taken in a cautious way, with every detail carefully considered before the change is implemented. Consensus needs to be built by changing hearts and minds one by one. It's a long-term hard work, because it has to be.